Yetta, I'm out of integrity with you.
Okay, we need to talk.
Moving forward with the Dekker Team. Moving forward together with the Dekker Team.
We're honored that for over 30 years, we've been able to come alongside you, not only selling, buying, and investing in real estate over 3,117 times, but coming alongside you to build your faith, build your fun, build your finances, and even your fitness. And the best part is even strengthen, heal, and flourish inside your relationships. Really 30 years of building your life, your home, and your wealth. We're going to discover what to do when you step out of integrity. How can we restore integrity with each other?
Mm-hmm. Because it was interesting when I said I'm out of integrity with you, which means I've broken a commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Then you said we need to talk.
Right.
Because talking will sometimes flesh out what the issues were. It will bring back connection. Because when you're out of integrity, what gets broken?
Well,
Trust
gets broken.
Yeah.
And I was going to say the relationship gets broken, but really trust is what is eroded.
Yeah. And,
right?
and then you break trust too often.
And the relationship
blows up,
crumbles, either collapses or blows up. It's kind of funny. Two completely different analogies and they both happen.
Yeah.
Blows to pieces or it crumbles apart.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Because it's too frequent. Mm-hmm. And then there becomes I thought there was an intention.
Right.
But proof is in the pudding, so to speak, right?
Right.
Whatever that saying means.
Well, it means that the actions speak a little louder than the mouth.
There you go.
Right? And so that's another way of saying it.
Yeah.
So the first thing we want to do if we recognize we've not honored our commitment and we're out of integrity.
Oh, so we're going to give a solution to what to do?
Oh, come on. We're not just going to sit here for lots of time and just make everybody feel miserable about when they don't do what they say they're going to do in the time frame they said they were going to do it in.
So I think it's very similar. Let me just say this. I think it's very similar to our 5 steps of wholehearted forgiveness.
True.
And if that's something you might want, then why not send us an email at together@dekkerteam.com and just put in the subject title, 5 steps to wholehearted. That's a long word. Wholehearted forgiveness.
Just say forgiveness. Just say, but if you send me an email with subject line forgiveness, I'm going to ask you, what did you do that I need to forgive you for? But I won't. I'll know that it's because you're looking for that tool, which has been hugely valuable. Not only in our own lives, but we've been told story after story where it's significantly supported other people's, and not just marriage relationships. Because we're married and because we work together, because we're partners, we talk about it a fair bit. However, it's applicable to every relationship you have, whether with friends, whether with colleagues, whether with kids, whether with parents, it doesn't really matter. It's inevitable inside relationship that we're going to break commitments now and then. It's going to happen. Yeah. Because so much of it's unspoken.
Right. And so these 5 steps are very similar.
Very similar. So the first one, which is my favorite, fess up when you mess up. Right? When you make a mess, when you don't honor your word, fess up.
Yep.
Like, speak the truth. Don't hide. Yeah. In the past, I would hide. You might not notice if I don't tell you. But the problem is you already figured it out when I didn't do what I said I would do when I said I would do it.
This one gets me in trouble sometimes. I think if you can fess up before it blows up.
Before the person even notices.
Yeah, before they know.
Before the other person knows that you haven't. So it's kind of like if you know you're not going to honor a commitment at work or even with a client, even installing a sign at a certain time, like even simple things. If I can call and say it's not going to be installed by then, it's going to be installed then instead, even though I'm about to mess up, there's a lot of additional grace that people have for us, have for you, have for others when they own their stuff.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to read this book by such and such a time, or I'm going to do this by such and such a time. It's not going to happen. Call and say it's not going to happen. and now recommit to something else. So the first step is just really fess up when you mess up, and even before you actually have done the mess up. No, it's true.
Well, you've probably messed up already, but it's because you're not going to make it, which
Right.
means you messed up. You didn't start early enough. You committed, you overcommitted,
Right.
whatever the case may be,
Mhm.
you already messed up. So
You
it's
did.
confessing before the other person catches you with it, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Because once
Yeah.
you're caught, it gets ugly.
Mhm.
Right?
And then
You
I
got a
think-
lot more cleanup to do.
Yeah. And I think second is very important,
Mm-hmm.
and that's listen to the person.
Mm-hmm.
I found this in customer relationships. The odd time with having a brokerage with 100 agents, sometimes you'll get a client that's not happy.
Really?
Yeah. And I find the biggest thing is listen to them.
Yeah.
Just listen. And sometimes I'll ask, what do you think it would take to make it right? And sometimes what they're asking for is unreasonable or undoable. Other times it's very reasonable what they ask for. And maybe I supply, as a third step, what can I do to make it right?
Right. So be prepared to take an action and state what the action is.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think part of that whole action conversation, if I'm going to offer what it is, I'm then going to ask, would that work for you? Right?
Yeah.
Does that work for you? So in the case of not being able to do something in the timeline I thought, it's this is what I can do. Will that work for you?
Mm-hmm.
And if they say, no, that won't work for me, then the question really becomes, what would work for you? Because sometimes it's hard for people to come up with what would work, especially when they're not the one that's out of integrity. So we need to offer a potential action
Yep.
and then clarify and qualify, really, if that is in fact helpful to the other person.
Mm-hmm.
Not
And it comes down to
always.
that communication, right?
Mhm.
Communication can reconnect. There has to be seen change, but it can reconnect where trust has been broken.
Yeah. And what's number 4?
Number 4 is recommit. Tell what you're going to do in the future, what it's going to look like. In other words, what behaviors are going to change, what safeguards I'm going to put in place to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of stuff.
Okay. And then asking the other person to create a new, basically, integrity contract,
Yeah,
which is
that's
what
fifth.
we, right? That's number 5.
Mhm.
So that's what we talked about in a previous segment, is actually having an idea of what commitment, and be as specific as you can.
Yeah, and
What-
be willing to, if you're going to ask for a new integrity contract with the person, people don't use this wording, but it's kind of effective. Will you trust me again? Will you keep the relationship alive with me? I recommit to this. They can say yes or no.
Right. And that's the hard part. You've got to be willing to let the other person say yes or no.
Yeah, and
'Cause
if
it's
they
not
say
your
no, the relationship may be over. It may be temporarily over. It may be taking a pause, but it's back in their court
Mm-hmm.
to re-engage at some point, right?
I think it's important that they don't have to. Like I can't overemphasize that piece enough, right? Sometimes we
Mhm.
want to drive it. And that's out of integrity.
Yeah, you can't drive somebody to accept your being out of
Mhm.
integrity and to trust in the
Mhm.
future. That has to come.
Yeah. So here's a big question for you.
Mm.
Where's a place that you're out of integrity that you need to go clean up? And you maybe didn't even notice it was an area that you were out of integrity because you didn't think about it the way we're proposing you to think about it.
Yeah, and think about what will it take to make it right. We're honored to be your advocates in this journey of building wealth through real estate and life exponential.
Moving forward with the Dekker Team.